Mr. President, what an honor to talk to you once again in Davos.
Very glad to see you. I remember our previous meeting, and thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak to your audience.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a multipolar world, how do we see our own dreams and our own plans? I'm sure there's always constant adjustments, but at the same time, there are also things that are the core. Can you explain to us what are those things for you?
Well, for our country, the most important achievement of recent years was the full restoration of our territorial integrity and sovereignty. We did it based on the international law norms and principles, in line with UN Charter and in line with UN Security Council resolutions. So for almost 30 years, that was our national idea, and we mobilized all our efforts in order to achieve our goal and to restore justice. Unfortunately, international law norms and international organizations were not helpful, because resolutions which were adopted by numerous international organizations just remained on paper. We had to resolve it ourselves and to restore justice ourselves. And this once again demonstrates that what really world needs now is full respect to international commitments.
I see. Mr. President, in the multipolar world, how do you see where Azerbaijan is?
Well, we are where we've been from the very beginning, since the restoration of our independence. We established a strong economy, self-sufficient, by the way, with a very low rate of foreign debt vis-à-vis GDP. It's only 6.9%. Based on that, we initiated large-scale projects which created connectivity in the region. And we're well established in the region of Southern Caucasus and Caspian, where we belong to. And definitely we've been strongly defending our national interests, our lifestyle, our independent policy, and achieved a lot of successes. So I would say example of Azerbaijan is a country which is relatively new on international map, defending its national interests and establishing good contacts around the globe, demonstrates that when you have stability, when you have unity in your society, you can defend your interests.
Looking from outside your country, Mr. President, though, one could see a very proactive international player, your country. For example, you are seeking membership of the World Trade Organization. By the way, you are having discussions with China on that lately, and also hosted the Global Climate Summit. It is such a mega event. And the list goes on. So one could see a very proactive approach of Azerbaijan. I'm sure you have your plans and you have been carefully thinking about the way forward, Mr. President.
Definitely, our target was to position Azerbaijan on political and economic map of the world. And hosting a climatic conference which unites almost 200 countries was a big challenge, a big responsibility, and also a big success. And another demonstration of Azerbaijan's diversified foreign policy is that our nomination was supported by all the parties. Almost
Congratulations!
200, yes, almost 200 parties, I mean countries and international organizations, unanimously supported Azerbaijan's nomination. Prior to that, we successfully chaired for 4 years a non-aligned movement which unites 120 countries and is second largest international institution after General Assembly. So this demonstrates that our policy, based on friendship, cooperation, non-interference in internal affairs of any country, really gains support on international arena, so we can be a host country for such a global international event.
Many are paying close attention to your discussion about joining the WTO. It is quite a process, isn't it?
Yes.
Having said that, though, now it is a time when you see protectionism is getting ever rising. Meanwhile, you also see some economies try to use the tools of tariffs, sometimes even blanket tariffs against other economies. And at the same time, the global supply chain is being somewhat disrupted. Why at this moment Azerbaijan thinking it is so crucial to join the World Trade Organization?
Well, actually, in your question, we have an answer to that. We are still not a member of World Trade Organization, though we are in an active phase of negotiations for many years, I would say for at least a couple of decades. And the reason why this process did not come to its logical conclusion is exactly what you've said. Protectionism, double standards, tariffs, all that disrupts the core values of World Trade Organization. We see that countries can apply tariffs and use protectionist mechanisms in order to protect their market, absolutely contradicting the principles of WTO. Therefore, we are in the process of negotiations, but at the same time, we are seriously evaluating advantages and disadvantages. One of those concerns is exactly what we just discussed. Another one is that our industry and our export potential must be well prepared for that.
Yes.
Because so far, a main part of our exports is fossil fuel. And for that, we don't need to be a member of WTO. You sell your commodities on the market. So opening the market for all the world members of WTO will increase competition, at the same time may damage the interests of local producers. Therefore, we are balancing this process and trying to get maximum positive conditions while we will be in the future negotiation process. I already said Azerbaijan's economy is self-sufficient. We have one of the lowest rate of foreign debt vis-à-vis GDP. Our hard currency reserves exceed our foreign debt 14 times. So we are not in need actually for any additional benefit. We don't want to lose what we have. But at the same time, we will see if all our proposals with respect to accession, either on bilateral track with countries, negotiation process, or with organization in general, if they're met, then I think the process will go more smoother.
As far as I understand, the latest news suggests that Azerbaijan's negotiation team are also working with the Chinese team on some of the latest information, including in the month of January.
Yes.
And I see quite positive response from both sides, it seems.
Yes, this is true because, last year, China and Azerbaijan officially became strategic partners. After the meeting between President of China and myself last summer, corresponding declaration on strategic partnership was adopted. And this is a very important political step in our bilateral relationship. So strategic partnership is a very high level of mutual trust, cooperation, and we are looking forward to expand our partnership with China, including in the issues related to our membership to different international organizations, not only WTO.
Well, you are already leading me to the next question, Mr. President. We see that Azerbaijan is an observer country, observer nation or status of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Meanwhile, you're also actively seeking membership of, the BRICS, so to speak. So how do you see the discussions about the global south, both in terms of security, trade, economic development, and win-win?
Actually, with respect to Shanghai Cooperation Organization, our status is a partner for dialogue,
yes,
not observer. So this is really a demonstration of strong mutual will in order to become closer with this international organization. And of course, when you work with international organizations or want to become closer, you look at the composition, you look at the member states, and with all member states of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS, Azerbaijan has very good and friendly relations. Plus, our geographical location, which is Southern Caucasus and Caspian, I think will be also important in terms of our contribution to common goals. Definitely issues which we are working actively with China and countries of Central Asia, it's connectivity projects, because Azerbaijan just sits on the route from east to the west with already modern sophisticated transportation infrastructure. So we can really contribute a lot from point of practical results. Definitely, access to any organization is a political move, but it must be backed by economy, by practical infrastructure projects, which unite countries even more. So as a part of Global South, we always defended the interests of Global South. And by the way, coming back to COP29, one of our idea was to build stronger bridges between Global South and Global North, because as a host country of COP29, we found out that there is a certain level of mistrust between the two with respect to climatic issues, and not only.
Not only that, gap actually is quite wide.
That's true.
What have you observed so far, besides the statement you just made?
Well, actually, when we became deeply involved in the issues related to climate change, we've seen that there is a big level of disappointment in the countries which have existential threat with respect to climate change. We all suffer from that, including Azerbaijan. But there are countries, especially small island states, which face existential threat. And their case sometimes was not put on the center of agenda. We did it. One of the important events during the COP29 in Baku was a summit of small island developing states, where Azerbaijan put forward a very ambitious agenda in order to provide practical support to those countries. It is obvious that without a consolidated approach of big actors, it will be difficult to support those countries, and those countries who don't have financial resources to address climatic issues. So I think it's a responsibility of countries which take this burden to do more. And Global South, absolutely objectively, is waiting for more support from the wealthiest countries of the world.
As you importantly pointed out, Mr. President, there has been a funding gap. And that funding gap was related to earlier promises which has not been carried out, especially to the developing countries by the developed economies. But it seems that the world is getting ever more divergent and also fragmented. Some of those so-called deficit of trust is only getting bigger. So how would a leader, at this moment of transition and when political trust could be diminishing, try to make sound judgment for your country? I think that means a lot of pressure. That means a lot of study and research.
I think one of the main factors for Azerbaijan's feeling itself comfortable in different environments is that we already did a lot with respect to our homework. We build a stable economy, we have a stable political system, We implement a lot of social programs which increase the living standards of people. We managed to reduce the level of poverty to approximately 5%. And with a strong partnership relationship with different international actors, we play a role of a certain facilitator. I already said about our strategic partnership declaration with China, but at the same time we have a strategic partnership declaration signed with 10 members of European Union. We have alliance declaration signed with Turkey, Uzbekistan, and Russia. So you see this diversified foreign policy trend is not just policy, it's based on substance. On every track, we have practical results, we have programs of cooperation, and our foreign policy, as any other countries, is just continuation of a domestic policy. So, contribution of Azerbaijan to regional stability and regional peace in a broader geography rather than just Central Asia, Caspian, and Southern Caucasus is something which is already being appreciated by global international actors. And our position is that if every country just concentrates on its own agenda, do not try to interfere into other countries' affairs, then there'll be no conflicts, no disagreements, no wars. The only reason that still we have unstable situation and bloodshed all around the world is just because countries which had imperialistic past, they just want to continue to interfere, to dominate, to dictate, and this naturally leads to resistance. So we managed to protect ourselves from internal interference, but not every country has a potential to do that. If country is dependent from economic point of view, then definitely it will be less capable to resist and to defend its national interests. Economy is the bulk of everything. Ideology, economy, and national idea. So this combination in Azerbaijan really brought us what we deserve.
Mr. President, though, as you are already on the very first day of World Economic Forum, you could feel there is a lot of sense of uncertainty and uneasiness about the next few weeks and months to come because of administration change, for example, in Washington, D.C., and people are thinking about what might be the policies followed. How do you look at these uncertainties and the leadership styles evolving as a result of that or related to that?
As far as I can observe, the main uncertainty is among the European leaders. With respect to Azerbaijan, we don't have any uncertainty. We remember the time when President Trump was head of United States, and our relationship developed very successfully, unlike the last 4 years when they completely deteriorated due to the unfair and unjust approach to Azerbaijan by Biden's administration. So our previous experience in working with President Trump was very positive, and we expect that these 4 years, which we consider as the lost years in the US-Azerbaijan relationship, will be already history, and we will restart. But among European leaders, there is a big uncertainty and I would say big concern. And the reason is very simple. We all know how President Trump was treated by some of them when he was not president last 4 years. We all know whom they supported, most of them, at the presidential elections this time. And if we know that, definitely President Trump knows it even better. And we already have the first, I would say, disqualification, and this is Canadian Prime Minister. Just one word of President Trump about him was enough for him to go home, to resign. And that's not because only certain political processes. It's just because some Western leaders were very unjust to President Trump, and definitely they are concerned that now maybe the time has come for them to be responsible for that. This is my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any other serious reason to be concerned about the change in United States. I think the world can become much safer. During the first term of President Trump, United States didn't start any war. And this was also a unique experience if we look at the history of United States, at least several decades before. So as far as Azerbaijan, we are certain and we are optimistic.
How do you see the interactions as an observer, of course, between China and the United States? We understand right before the inauguration ceremony of Mr. Trump as the 47th President of the United States, Chinese President and the US President talked on the phone. And they talk about how they can cooperate for the benefits of the world's security, development, and safety. So how do you see these kind of interactions between the two largest economies of the world?
That was, by the way, very good news, I think, for the world, that presidents of China and United States now back.
You know both of them quite well.
Well, I know President Xi much better because I met him many times. With President Trump, I didn't have a formal meeting, just handshake. But again, this is a very good sign, a good signal to the world, to world economy, to stability, because China and United States are two biggest economies and two leading countries of the world. And of course, consensus between them on different issues. And cooperation, not confrontation, will be definitely to the benefit of all the countries. So when we heard about that telephone conversation, we were glad that it happened, and we hope that this process of close partnership will continue.
I remember years ago, also at the World Economic Forum, I had the honor to moderate a panel in which you, Mr. President, talked in detail about the potential of the Middle Corridor.
Yes.
Remember that year, right?
Yes, of course.
You were with the political leaders and business leaders from the region and beyond. And years passed, it has coming from a vision into a reality.
True.
And it has not only you as an advocate of it, but also many of your partners, including China, by the way, to make that road even more significant. So what do you think the vitality of the Middle Corridor, with the participation of China as well, of course other partners, that has in a way revitalized the region? How is this providing an alternative to a world that is ever more concerned about fragmentation?
Yes, definitely it provides alternative, and it provides opportunities for business, because Azerbaijan's position on Middle Corridor is not just to be a transit country and to get more fees from transit. Our target is to build facilities en route in Azerbaijan to help private sector to take advantage of that. And of course, since that panel which you referred to, a lot have happened in this area, including in relationship between China and Azerbaijan, as I already said, about strategic partnership. But at the same time, Azerbaijan's infrastructure of Middle Corridor, Azerbaijani segment, was upgraded. At the moment, we see that already upgraded infrastructure will not be enough in the coming 3-5 years.
Yes, I see you always have new goals.
Yeah, exactly. Because our target was to have a handling capacity in our trade seaport of 15 million tons, and that would have been enough for decades. But now we expect 25 million tons within probably 5-6 years. So what we're doing at the moment, we are financing expansion of our trade seaport, expansion of our railroad infrastructure. We know that there are connectivity projects in Central Asia, also largely financed by Chinese government. Another routes towards the Caspian, that means towards Azerbaijan, so we must be absolutely prepared for that. And I'm sure that One Belt, One Road initiative of President Xi Jinping will create additional opportunities for all the countries. And again, it is connectivity, it is business opportunity, and it is stability and security, because we all become interdependent. And we have important infrastructure projects which unites us, and this is a good environment for addressing different types of issues between countries on bilateral and multilateral track.
China has been enjoying rapid development in green technology and sharing, certainly, with the rest of the world. And I also understand you have a very active green agenda as well.
Yes.
For example, working on some of the photovoltaic power stations together with China. How do you see a country and economy like yours, even though rich in fossil fuel, but looking at green as the ultimate solution?
Yes, definitely. I think this is a responsibility of countries with fossil fuel, that they need to use their revenues from fossil fuel to invest in green technologies and green energy. That's what we exactly are doing. And we provided a good investment opportunities for investors. So our immediate target by 2027 is to have 2 gigawatt of solar and wind, and by 2030, 6 gigawatt. And that will be kind of a revolution in energy mix in Azerbaijan. And I'd like also to say that the investors, which are investing foreign companies in these projects, including local companies from Azerbaijan, they use Chinese technology. So solar panels are produced in China. Now our team is working on storage capacity, and we found out that the best batteries are in China. So I just only can congratulate Chinese producers with this tremendous success, because it's a quality and price, and no one can compete.
Especially for the global South countries.
Exactly, exactly. And also now Chinese companies are also interested in not only providing services and technology, but also to invest in Azerbaijan. And this is already in the pipeline. At COP29, we signed agreement between Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan to build an energy cable under the Caspian Sea. So we will connect Central Asia and Azerbaijan, and potentially China, with energy cable. Another project will stretch the cable from Azerbaijan to Europe on the Black Sea. So this is another connectivity. This is a corridor for green energy with huge potential, because Azerbaijan's wind and sun potential is already fixed, and it is much more than we could imagine. So we need markets, we need technology, we need cooperation, because without cooperation between neighbors, you will not be able to implement these projects. So potential is here, and as you mentioned, Azerbaijan in green transition is playing a very active role.
How come every step of the way Azerbaijan and China seem always to find each other? It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's always in each other's plans.
Yes. This really became a serious geopolitical synergy.
And the strategic partnership just mentioned, it's really upgrading everything.
Yes, exactly. And also recently we exempted from visa requirements for Chinese citizens. So Chinese citizens do not need now even to apply for electronic visa. And hopefully soon Azerbaijani citizens will also have this opportunity. So this will increase the number of tourists.
Absolutely.
This will increase people-to-people contacts,
yeah.
definitely.
It's so important.
And public diplomacy will play its role. Now we work on official diplomatic channels, political, economic, trade, investments, connectivity, but public diplomacy will add a lot.
Yeah. Final question, 2 questions. One is about Chinese economy. As you know, Mr. President, Azerbaijan and China are working so closely together, especially on trade and economic cooperation. China's economy is going through this transition. It is looking for the new growth point. Well, at the same time, there's great potential. What is your take about the current state of the Chinese economy? And to you, as a global South economy, what do you see about the nature of this economy in China?
Well, as far as I know, I'm not deeply informed
of course, no economist, yes.
about the new plans, but as far as what we observed is concerned, Chinese economy is very stable, and it is an important factor of global economy. And for a country like Azerbaijan, which needs to have stable prices for fossil fuel, Chinese economy is also an important factor. When Chinese economy grows faster, the demand for fossil fuel is more. So we are actually interested also from this point of view that China's economy always grows, but it is not easy because when you grow year after year, you build a bulk, so it's always difficult to continue.
The expectation is very high.
Yes,
yeah.
Expectations are very high. So, but I'm sure that the talented Chinese people, they will find, I'm sure they already did, new points of growth.
Yes.
Because you are the leader in technology, and in Azerbaijan, for instance, many Chinese companies provide their services and their technology. And as we just discussed, in green technology, no one can compete. So our investors, which belong to different companies from different parts of the world, they select Chinese technology in order to install this capacity.
Thank you for your input. The final question. The world is changing quite fast, one could say. Yet every time when I talk to you, Mr. President, it seems that your core is always very strong. I really wonder, what does that say, not only about yourself, but also about leadership today, especially at a time amid all changes?
Well, leadership, of course, is a huge responsibility, and the most important is that the leader, must always be fair with its people, with his population. Never lie to your people, and they will appreciate that. We know that sometimes, due to some political reasons, leaders who seek power, they give a lot of promises, and then they fail to implement them. And this leads to frustration, this leads to disbelief, this leads to political crisis in different parts of the world. But in our case, for more than 20 years, I always told the people of Azerbaijan the truth, no matter how this truth was, how to say, positive or negative, whatever. And always told the people that we will restore justice. And people believed me. And after 17 years in power, finally, we delivered what we promised and restored our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and dignity. So my recommendation to leaders who are trying to get public support is always tell the truth and do what is necessary for the country, regardless international pressure, regardless international media, no matter what they say about you, how they call you, how they insult you. Just do what is right for your country and you will succeed. And the country will succeed.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, right after the World Economic Forum annual meeting this year will be the Lunar Chinese New Year. Yes, I really wonder if we could have the honor and the pleasure to let you talk to your Chinese friends and also to the great Chinese people as well. It's a Lunar New Year. It's called the Spring Festival, the Lunar New Year. And this year they usually have a zodiac of animals. This year is the year of the snake. Have to be flexible, you know, that kind of thing. So anyway, this is a rural tradition. Anyway.
I'd like to congratulate the people of China with Lunar New Year and wish prosperity, peace, stability, and happiness to all our friends. China and Azerbaijan became strategic partners just 6-7 months ago. This is a high level of partnership which demonstrates our mutual will to be even better friends than we are. And taking this opportunity, I'd like to invite our Chinese friends to visit Azerbaijan. Already they do not need visas for that. It is just take a ticket and come and to see what Azerbaijan is, how it develops, and also to find new friends. I'm sure people-to-people contact will make our countries and peoples even closer to each other. Happy New Year.